Hello, welcome. This is the Daily Dharma. My name is Deana with Impressive Warrior. Thank you, as usual, for joining. Today, I've gone ahead and laid out the cards in advance. I do like doing that sometimes. It helps with the meditation. Today's message seems to be about a significant transition point that we're moving through that has been ongoing. And this one seems to be activating our feminine wisdom and this rebirth process. And through the feminine energy being developed and our ability to soften is helping us to then develop the masculine in turn within ourselves. So I'll start with the Tao messages. Coming out, we had 34. The great Tao flows everywhere. All things are born from it, yet it doesn't create them. It pours itself into its work, yet it makes no claim. It nourishes infinite worlds, yet it doesn't hold on to them. Since it's merged with all things and hidden in their hearts, it can be called humble. Since all things vanish into it, and it alone endures, it can be called great. It isn't aware of its greatness, thus it is truly great. And what I'm getting out of this with the cards on the table is that we are that seed of the divine, and when we merge with the universal love on the desk here, that unconditional loving nature that acknowledges the inclusive whole that we are a part of and entangled within. It's this beginning of discernment that comes through when we understand things. Understand is the wrong word. When we start to acknowledge the great wisdom of the divine and our part within it, it softens our energy. It helps our discernment as far as then we become someone who is more compassionate with others, more merciful, more able to sit in our alignment with Source, in our authority. So there's something here also about our healing perceptions here too. Let's get the other cards. The 16 was under the deck for the Tao. Empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. Returning to the source is serenity. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. When you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you, and when death comes, you are ready. And death doesn't have to be the final end to our mortal experience. Death here can talk about endings on any level in our life. The death of a good book, you don't want it to end. It's so amazing. But without that ending, there's no forward movement, So change is a constant. Yesterday we had change, and I was seeing the transition card, which comes out today right next to Universal Love. So I do believe I'd love to just put this as a thumbnail here on the image, but I'm contemplating moving my camera. I'm going to do that. So bear with me. I hope y'all don't get very dizzy. This is going to hopefully work out well. So let's see the desk here, all the way up here. Taking in all of the cards here. I'm sorry that they're upside down. You can pause and check this out. So you see what I see now. I hope that wasn't too much for y'all. So here's what I'm seeing in this large layout. I don't usually take so many code cards, but they all came out together and it seemed to tell this story. So let's start with the Kuan Yin Kelly cards first. So sound the fierce flute, number 29. 2 plus 9 is an 11. We have 12, Kelly Yantra. 19, Mother of Mercy. And 11, under the deck, Enter the Jade Temple. And below that we have the 1 card, Smashana. And we had that recently, as well as below that Krishnu, the 2-headed masculine. So before starting, there was a message that came to me on my phone, and I wanted to share this with you. I'm not sure that I'll be able to hear it. It was right there. So this was from Esoteric Empire, and it was from their Facebook. It says, Earth is the highest dimension of hell and the lowest dimension of heaven, acting as some sort of interdimensional way station where entities from all dimensions congregate to observe and manipulate humans as they either level up or down in dimensions. And I see us as the rainbow bridge between all of these realms and dimensions, co-creating our experience, triggering ourselves and others to level up or their choice to level down, right? While each of us walking the others home. And by home, I mean the connection to source that we're talking about here. And so some of what we're all dealing with is trying to balance that head and heart contrast here. And with Sound the Fierce Flute, we're talking about discernment, choice, and sounding the fierce flute is taking our dynamic experience, our reactions, our emotional, our liminal aspects, the feelings, the intuition, and the accumulated experience to then speak into existence, to co-create, to use that free choice of discernment. What is really in our best interest? What is self-serving? And is it the time to be self-serving, or is it the time to be selfless in our path, in certain situations? And this Sound the Fierce Flute is about a declaration of discernment, saying yes to one thing, no to another. And under the deck on the shamanic cards, we have Drifter, experiencing life as it comes. And I feel like this is talking about taking back some of our power from our perceptions, from our dynamic experience and patterns, to then see each moment with fresh eyes, to see it through the eyes of Source, through the eyes of universal love here, and to take back some of our power as well from our indulgent patterns, and to, instead of losing vitality and energy in this indulgence, that we actually replace indulgence with creativity, with self-care, and with inspirational acts of self-love, and of actually basking in the delight of Source. With Kali Yantra here, the mudra that they call out is to interlace your fingers with the pointer fingers extended up and the left thumb over the right, and using this within your meditative space to call forth the discernment and transformational power to recognize where something may or may not be in your best interest, and to really gather into you the fearlessness and the courage of Kali when she is moving through potential cycles of death and rebirth. She's intentionally speaking into existence her highest path and utilizing that for the highest good of all. Mother of Mercy is through that process of self-discovery. It's, well, the two together as well with this Kali Yantra. It's recognizing the root that connects us all and the transgressions that we all make, and then being able, willing and able to see that within the self and within the other with through the eyes of the Divine Mother, the unconditional love of the Divine Mother that always takes us back into the fold and is, how do I want to say, through the process of many endings and beginnings, and drifting through these experiences as they come to us, because we have allowed ourselves to move into it with open arms and delight in our hearts, the compassion and the amusement and the kind-hearted nature of our grandmother energy here, because we've enjoyed something fully and gathered all of our experience from that moment. When the ending comes, we're ready for that experience to have resolution so that we can go out and have new exciting opportunities, and not being afraid of letting something transition into something different, like the moving forward into something that requires more discipline or commitment, that is a heartfelt thing. There's still sometimes resistance in really letting yourself spill into that new opportunity, because there might be this fear of, well, if I go all in and it ends, will I have wasted my energy? The Mother of Mercy says, be kinder to yourself. Would it be better for you to not spill into these experiences and really enjoy your life to the fullest? Is it better to hold yourself back into suppressed, easy, and having not risked greatly in your life, right? So Enter the Jade Temple, coming next here, is about recognizing the serenity at the inner level, and the very dynamic experience that happens from acknowledging the depths of the delight and the dynamic experience that is ready, waiting, and present for us when we step into that experience. So going down the line, as you may have noticed, we have on the far left for myself, I think your camera is reversed, dynamic 23. Then below that, delight. Below that, 63, winter's dream, gestation period. And so you may have imagined things coming together in a different way. You may, if you're not experiencing life with that full delight, you may have thought that things were going to be different, and there's this it's as though we still are groggy in our awakening process. We're not quite sure about what was it that I was just dreaming about. You know, when the dream is still dissolving around you and you're still starting to come to awareness of, where was I when I fell asleep? Or, you know, what was it that was yesterday that was so delightful or so discouraging? And awakening from the dream life and then coming into, what is it that I was just doing? What is it that I'm planning? Where am I going? And I feel like the dream here is that world between worlds, the realm between realms, where we're in that gray area, so to speak. This Kali Yantra speaks about that gray area being the most conducive to co-creating with our magical capacity. It's the earthly realm, is the gray area between heaven and hell, so to speak, between the above and below, where it's the gray area of all potentials merging through the perspectives, through the dynamic interaction of beings and thoughts and creations, manifestations for good and bad, and people's delight and discouragement and hopes and fears and distractions. And so we're seeing here the dynamism, and we're being told to see this with the kind-hearted nature of the grandmother here, disinterested and amused in the news stories that say, hey, I've got another thing for you to get all worked up about. Doesn't this make you angry? Doesn't this make you hate other individuals? And you can say, no, not at all. I understand, I've been there, but I am strong and secure in my love nature, in my compassion, in the mercy that I hold for the world at large. And recognizing that the so-called positives and negatives are all the great Tao as it's flowing everywhere, and we are flowing with it, experiencing everything as it comes into our awareness. Because all things are born from this. Without pain would people push to be a light in the dark for another. Without having some type of abandonment complex, would we be there to say, well, I don't want this person that's so meaningful to me to think that I don't care greatly for them. So even though I'm distracted by things, I'm going to take that moment and I'm going to reach out to that person and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. This is meaningful, and I hope you have a great day. You know, you can change the path of someone's day just by something arising in you that wants to convey, to communicate something important to another. Your timing is generally on point, and you're called to do that because that other person's also calling out for some type of validation or some type of show me what it's worth. You know, I'm in this fear or I'm in this overthinking state, and here you come with this message of delight, and they're like, yes, delight. That brings me peace and serenity when I was in this chaotic bubble here for a moment. You bring them back into the Jade Temple. You create heaven on earth with your answering that merciful compassion, remembering yourself, remembering the discernment of not being too distracted yourself because others have been distracted on you, right? So you nourish infinite worlds when you obey your inner delight and when you speak love in its highest manifestation into the world. And when you are merged with all things, positive and negative, supposed, right, then you become the seed of the divine hidden in the hearts of many. And when you encounter this individual, having that seed of the divine within you, you are able to perceive of it with buried, however deeply, obscured by however many veils and illusions when you're speaking to someone who appears as a competitor or an enemy, then you are also hidden within their hearts and they within your heart. And this creates humility, and all things material and the manifestations. I saw a butterfly at the window. All of these matters that seem so important in the moment, the distractions that would keep us from that moment, vanish back into the Tao, and the Tao alone endures. It's not about the things, it's not about the manifestations, it's about the co-creative essence, and it's not about the thing that's being created, it's about the process, it's about the intermingling of consciousness, bumping up and helping each other to awaken. And that is greatness right there, for sure. The second row going down, we have perception, healing, and universal love. So this is your awakening and maturing perception of your own capacity as a healer to self-heal, to self-soothe, and to offer this back to the world at large, however publicly, however privately. Your healing capacity here comes through holding your faith, hope, and deep joy in the co-creative potential of love to so-called win the day. The third line, we have third eye chakra, integration and transition. And this happens in the middle row. I've got 5 columns here. And in the center, the third eye chakra is the microphone of the divine to speak through us. And it can be blocked by manipulation, by fear and anxiety, overthinking, and disclarity in any way, shape, or form. And so we have this discernment with third eye chakra coming through, like what are the beliefs that are filtering the divinity and the guidance that's coming in from source. And this is how we're seeing. Think about how we're seeing with our 2 material eyes, and we see the manifestations. We see evidence of whatever we're looking for, whatever our patterning has already been able to label and put a big stamp on. This is good, this is bad, this is in alignment with me, this is not in alignment with me, this is evil, this is not. And we can make blanket statements like I sometimes can make blanket statements about politics or religions and institutions versus the more subtle realms, because institutions, religion, and politics are more black and white thinking, and it's talking about that separation aspect of when discernment becomes judgments and saying, well, I'm going to identify with this camp versus that camp, and through those distinctions in our energy, we become aware of what we like and what we dislike. And again, I have this message coming through where I'm reminded of something that Matt Kahn, who is on YouTube, said before, the dream of dislike, awakening from the dream of dislike. So if we're in our delight, kind-hearted as this grandmother, as it says, we're disinterested in what we could potentially spend all of our dislike energy towards. And instead of worrying about what we dislike, we're not going to say, oh, I don't like that. We can shift within ourselves and say, they like that. I like this. We all like different things. I mean, I don't like people that murder, right, in some type of way. I don't like people that do nasty things to other individuals. However, the more I invest in what I dislike, the more that I'm calling that into my circumstance, the more attention I give that, the more my view of the world is colored by what I'm seeing, evidenced by my senses, by my earthly senses, by my misguided eyes. And my eyes will influence my third eye to veil itself, to consider rights and wrongs, and think that I am the one here to correct the world with my ferocity. The word fierce keeps coming up as well. This declaration can be made in a stance against things, but if we're here as a fighter against things, a fighter of injustice instead of a creator of justice, then our energy is being drained. Our vital capacity to be a messenger of love is somewhat reduced. So there's this shifting here of rebirthing the self into a creator versus a destroyer, and both things have their divine time, because Kali is the divine destroyer. And you know, if you have a pile of Legos and you build something once, but then you really wish that you had more to build with, maybe it's time to take down the Lego tower so that you can build more creations, kind of thing. You know, there's this, you have these Legos being the material building blocks of matter, and you may have built yourself a beautiful home, a beautiful reputation, a beautiful outer shell, something like this, or a not so beautiful experience or environment for yourself. And so this is the divine discernment coming through to say it's well within your free will and capacity to discern that your creation, no matter how much energy, time, and effort you have put towards that creation, it may be ready for an extreme transition to integrate the new things. When we know better, we do better. So whatever is transitioning here, we're being shown elements that are not as healthy or helpful. And so if it's, you may not be, let's say, breaking up with your lover, but maybe the relationship is taking a step in a different direction, where somebody needs to move in a new direction, and then there's a bit of this transition phase between what was and what will be, and trying to integrate these shifts and changes. Something may need to be destroyed, so to speak. A death cycle may need to come for someone to switch jobs, and during this transition where they follow their heart, or even like somebody leaves the workforce to go back to school, and the other partner is then bearing a greater burden financially, so that the betterment of all can be had in the long run, right? There's some type of transition here where there's a new phase that must be integrated, and we're being told that part of our fear and anxiety about this is, will it be worth it? And the universe says everything is worth it. And engage in the excitement and not the anxiety here. Anxiety doesn't help you to plan. And ironically, pre-planning doesn't always help you to solidify a good plan either. But there's something here that we're clearing out any misguided perceptions or anything that we've built on a false pretense here. And it has to do with our spiritual maturing process. And now that we know better, we're moving into a new phase of life. And this may be somebody who's been working on the self-healing journey, or something like that, moving into a public healer, or somebody who's always had people come to you for counseling or wise thoughts on whatever they're struggling with, and you feeling that, oh, well, if all of these people are helped by my thoughts and intuition on their behalf here, maybe it's time that I helped more people with my energy. And maybe you're going back to school for something like that, psychology, or getting some type of credentials. Or maybe credentials aren't on your agenda and you're foregoing some type of, like maybe you already went to school and you have this amazing degree, and all of a sudden you're like, well, my heart's not in that, and I want to throw all that to the wayside and move into this incredible calling that you have. And so there's something that you are intuitively feeling drawn to, and you're in this integration phase to accommodate this growth cycle for yourself. The fourth column here, we have authority, belief, and sacral chakra, 10, 11, and 2. So if you didn't notice, we have a few different 11s. We have the 29 and 2 11s. Jade Temple and belief here are 11s. And we also have master number 44 over here with universal love. And we have a lot of cards coming in order. Transition and universal love are 43, 44 next to each other. Authority and belief are 10 and 11 next to each other. We have 29 and 30, healing and integration next to each other. Synchronicities are everywhere. Mother of Mercy is 19, as is the Delight card over here. And Remembrance under the deck over here is 8 plus 3. That's an 11. A lot of synchronicities here showing up for us. And so authority, belief, and sacral chakra is this dynamic reemergence, this rebirth process where there's a heart expansion, an inner healing moment where there's this growth of universal love within our hearts, this unconditional love through this self-healing process here. And healing is also an 11. Did I say that? That's a 29, as is Sound the Fierce Flute. The more I look, the more I see. It's everywhere. And so through this healing process, our core beliefs are shifting, and sacral chakra is very much based in our sensual delight nature, our pursuit of what feels good. And when we're in the healed aspect of the sacral chakra, we have self-love, we have the urge to reach out to others, to connect. It goes beyond the seeking for survival of the root chakra and moves into the seeking of what makes us happy and what brings us pleasure and delight. And through loving ourselves, we give ourselves permission to deserve things. And belief here says the frequency of belief supports our sense of self-worth based on our gifts and our talents and a strong connection to source. Yesterday was an entirely too long video for what my aim is. In this third dimension, I think, the video should be below 20 minutes. That way everybody can get in and get their messages and get on their way. But it is what it is. I channel as I do, and I just have to leave it as it is. And so yesterday's reading was all about that South Node and the judgment of the talents that are innate to our soul that we brought into this life and may have discarded, judged, or taken for granted, and that we're still trying to reach into the North Node if we're on our path of self-actualization. We're moving forward and trying to be the best that we can be through that North Node and stretching ourselves and taking the high road and all of those things, blazing our own path. And that is the awakening of our gifts and talents. But we cannot fully integrate the lessons of the North Node of destiny and stretching ourselves in that way to greatness, true greatness, until we really integrate the perception of our shadow and the perception of what isn't great about ourselves, and commit to utilizing the strengths and opportunities hidden within the shadowy realms and the misperceptions here with third eye chakra, whether that's self-imposed or another circumstance or individual or individuals who have seemingly pushed yourself down in a certain way. And every day without fail I get a call from him during my broadcast. And then the third column here is discernment, communication, and benefactor, grace and generosity here, coming through here and picking up this self-healing, integrating the shadow, creates this turning point in our energy, and our belief is growing through greater compassion, greater mercy for self and others, and that deserving nature here. And so we have this discernment coming back out at the end of this spread and this journey here, coming out with communication and then benefactor, grace, and generosity. And then we had over here as well, I keep saying kind-hearted as a grandmother, which is the process of integrating the heart space with that universal love, but then dignified as a king. So the belief in yourself allows you to recognize your spiritual divinity and your inner authority, and see these cute little mice here, if you believe that mice could be cute. He's got a crown on, and I'm seeing this mushroom as not even connected to the earth, but I'm seeing this in the moment as a magic carpet ride, like the Aladdin and Jasmine magic carpet ride. It's a whole new world coming to fruition, and you, whether it's through your material assets, sharing them, or sharing your healing light in another way through your words, your deeds, your communication is so many different things. It's your nonverbals, it's the radiance of your self-acceptance and your enjoyment of everything. Like sometimes I'll catch myself, and it usually comes most to my attention when I'm around somebody who doesn't think that this is all such a beautiful, magnificent, miraculous experience. We'll be driving down the road and I'm like, oh, I love copper metal roofs. Oh, I love that tree. Oh, do you see that? It's like there's no end. Oh my gosh, did you see that person's shirt? Now that's a person who's confident. That makes me remember that I shouldn't judge my own body. Look at them just strutting like that, and I just, instead of thinking, oh, well, that person shouldn't wear that, I'm like, look at the confidence or the self-appreciation and whatever that this person or that person brings to the table. And I witness the dynamic experience that life is showing me, all manner of things to get excited and delighted about. But if you put your attention on everything that isn't right, all of those things, such as that person, oh, well, they shouldn't wear this, or look at that individual disciplining their child, that can bring you sadness if you witness somebody who's a distracted parent. We were also talking about people who become addicted and they have justified to themselves their addiction to such a point, and then they have this child sitting right in the room with things going on. This came up in conversation. It's like we were all sympathetic to the child, but it's interesting how that doesn't need to be a sad story, because we're not understanding everything that's being activated within all the people in that environment. For one person, witnessing that is like, ooh, I would never be that. And then that person never goes back to a situation like that. They use their discernment to say, that's not the environment that I would be comfortable in. I'm going to go over here and create a different experience for myself and those that are important to me, and communicating those in a new way. So this whole new world is like, whatever experiences you've been engaged in, your remembrance of the past is key to developing your consciousness and your compassion here under the deck. And what's below below consciousness and remembrance is divine masculine, miracle, prosperity, and earth. And I did see earth under the other deck as well. So we're remembering things, and this is helping us expand our consciousness. Thus, it's helping us to discern and to choose a different way to create, to use our potential to create miracles and prosperity, spiritually and on earth. And then tantric journey below that, and synergy, which takes us to the compassion there. And so with benefactor, I feel that the development of grace within you is making your heart abundantly generous to other individuals. And this is generating a mutually prosperous, abundant situation to help emerge for all players. So trust the cycle that wants to come to a close for you, and try to engage in that mercy and compassion for yourself, and that developing self-love and belief in your potential and belief in your authority, belief that you deserve this new opportunity. And maybe you're the one that's attracting a benefactor in this situation, but it seems to be a mutually beneficial engagement between spirit and matter, between consciousness and embodiment. That feels amazing. And so below the deck on the shamanic, we have the drifter, experiencing life as it comes, moving towards the light and letting things just happen around you and taking it all in from the observation point. And then below that we have delight here, this joyful muse, amused as a grandmother. So everything, positive or negative, is fuel for delight, fuel for inspiration. Pain is great inspiration to create something very moving, very emotional, very charged and connected to other individuals. People are very moved by things that reach deep within their humanity, deep within the earthly realms that we all share, that mutual suffering, that mutual pain body that is trying to shake loose and trying to accommodate the new influx of light that's been activating us and pushing us to make that declaration, to move away from distractions and to assist others from their distractions, to get us all back into our integrity and help each other walk each other home through triggers and through generosity and through mutual acceptance. And under that, whale song resonating. We can take all of this into account and move in a new direction. So also I had these love notes from the universe. I got prepared to be astounded with you are adored. So send them love, wish them peace, see them happy, everyone, always, forever, and prepare to be astounded, the universe. P.S. Oh man, and will you ever become a big-time manifester? So yeah, if you have encountered some type of difficulty here, or you have an ending here with another individual, send them off with peace, and love, and trust that you are on a path of greater fulfillment and abundance. You are adored by the universe and by all. The great thing about feeling deep, profound, earth-shaking love is that you can start with anyone. Next, the universe. So if you are having this ending, don't limit yourself by saying that this type of deep fulfillment and love can only happen with a one-to-one lover. It can happen between yourself and the universe, between self and self, the higher self, always protecting and providing and assisting you to move away from something that isn't in your best interest and towards something that will unlock your highest calling and destiny and your highest self-expression. So I'll leave you with a small reading with Kali Yantra. She is your inner power to evoke a positive shift in your circumstances. If anything required for success should be lacking, the Divine Mother shall provide it, bringing the divide between you and the manifestation of your intentions. You are crossing a critical spiritual threshold. She is the true guardian and guide. Stay focused on what matters to your heart, and you shall remain faithfully connected to her protective presence within. Allow distractions to fall away and continue to commit to your soul journey. A more beautiful experience of your life path awaits you. I just felt tingles all the way down my back. It's as though your heart is afraid to trust in the process, but you are being guided. You are not alone. The Divine Mother has your back. Sound the fierce flute. Discernment empowers you to make choices that are aligned with your spiritual intentions, like a fierce sounding flute cutting through all vibrations with purity and intent. Your discernment allows you to stay true to your values and spiritual destiny without getting caught up in distractions. If you wish to grow spiritually through love, joy, peace, and abundance, then discerning between higher and lower vibrational choices is helpful. See how this all fits together? And the Mother of Mercy, just like a sun that shines brightly, casting a strong shadow, your growing spiritual power needs to be expressed with the awareness that it will have an effect on others. Even if you're not completely conscious of that effect, to create peace in the expression of your power, we call upon the Mother of Mercy. Mercy tempers great strength and power with kindness, gentleness, compassion, and caring. The divine Kuan Yin brings the quality of mercy to you now as a divine gift, encouraging you to cultivate mercy in your dealings with others and to receive it for yourself now too. So if you have spoken out in some type of a way that was triggering to others, and there's something that has been communicated, maybe a difference of belief that was mind-blowing to somebody else and shook up their perceptions or shook yours up, shook them to the core, there's a needful merging of I'm seeing this on my board here, this in the flux, in the vortex of what you want and what you desire. There's this commingling of energies merging with your own, this inner integration process that might really skew up all of your inner compass. And I thought I was going this way, but now I'm seeing this opportunity emerging. I didn't see that before, but does this mean that I don't go here? Does this mean I was wrong? Am I just, having cold feet and jumping ship and going a different way? There's all these ideas here that are floating around, and we're gathering experiences, mingling all of this remembrance and intentionality to see where that spark wants us to go, to experience life as it comes. We may be told to take a detour, and it doesn't mean that we won't come back, and it doesn't mean that we will or won't do anything that we thought or didn't imagine yet. So there's new resonance coming into the picture, but it's soul resonance. It's the spark that's bringing us back into something more transcendent, more transformational than we have perhaps thought of before. It's going to lead us down a path of something extremely astounding. Yes, so I'm going to leave you there. Another long one. I hope you appreciate all of these messages. I wish you all the best. Take care, and bye for now.